Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew Snorton with Creative Community Solutions, and we are so excited and so blessed to have one of the really engaging artists, creatives, doing some amazing work. So I'm going to let him introduce himself to y'all. So welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, my name is Charly Palmer. I'm in the Atlanta area. I'm a visual artist and creator, living and enjoying Atlanta, but attached to anything and everything that's Black.
Well, thank you for taking time to be with us today. Before we talk about the current exhibit, I'd like for you to get our viewers introduced to your evolution as an artist. What would you say would be that pivotal moment? It could have been something that you read, a piece that you saw that tapped into the creative talents that you are currently using as an artist.
Okay, let's make the story short. It's odd when I say I'm committed to Black and blackity, blackity, Black, but to say my big influence was when the Beatles came to America in 1964. I was intrigued by their look, their style, their music, everything about them. And so at 5 years old or something like that, I was drawing pictures over and over again of the Beatles. And there was something about that creative expression. And Andrew, we were talking about it earlier, and it's like they intersect on so many different levels when it comes to visual art, dance, music, and everything like that. So sometimes sound inspires work, sometimes movement inspires work, and then definitely other artists inspire my work.
And walk through with us your continued growth. So you'd say since the Beatles, like you said, around the early 60s. So you're talking about, wow, like I was about to say, at least a 55-year plus
Right.
engagement with that spark of music tapping into your creativity. What are some of the things that are your motivation or inspiration regarding any piece that you do? Because we know art, imitation of life, and it is a form of storytelling. So walk through with us, a little bit about that creative or inspirational process.
Okay, so you know what? My eyes are always open, and my eyes are always in my ears listening. And so it's often something that would be that subtle things that someone else might not even notice. It may be a word or something that someone has said. It may be a sound and asking, what does that look like? It may be the political system and like during the period of the last administration. There were so many things there that troubled me, but there were so many things that inspired me to tell the story of the journey of Black people in America and around the world. And so it comes from everywhere. But once I get the idea that this is something possibly to explore, then it becomes, what does it look like? And what I don't want to do is take the obvious solution. I don't want to take the literal interpretation. I'm like, how can I tell a story and people not even realize that I'm really addressing kind of what's going on right now? And a good example of that is a piece I did of an Aunt Jemima, and she's standing behind, or it's Hattie McDaniel, but she's standing or sitting behind in front of an American flag. But the American flag is starting to fall apart. And the piece is called America Was. And so it's kind of addressing that Make America Great Again, which is also something that the Klan used a long time ago. And Ronald Reagan used the term too. And so I had to ask the question as a visual artist, when was it great for America? And then it was the realization, oh, they're not talking to us. And so it was like, let me tell a different story and kind of address, we've been able to survive, we've been able to navigate, we've been able to find joy, find growth, find success in a system that has never been designed to benefit us. And so those are the kind of things that I think about. But then again, I don't want to do a literal interpretation. So I'm always taking a subtle way of narrating that story.
And I'm glad you walked through that with us because, like you said, artists and creatives, it's the imagery, it is stimulating the thought process, all these different things. And also to varying degrees, like you said, subtly or obviously, you're amplifying some type of message. And this brings me to the current exhibit that you have at the Hammonds House Museum, walk us through the title and I'll say the rationale, behind it.
Okay. Good question. All right. So one of the things, like the name of the show is called Departure. And we always have, when artists are doing shows, we always have a title to the work. I had no idea what the name of the show was going to be when I was sitting down one day and speaking with the director. And I was explaining two particular pieces that will be featured in the show called Young Man and Father. And it was a shadow box, and it had a three-dimensional slave ship in it. It has pieces that are cut out. It has flowers in it, but they're plastic flowers as opposed to painted on flowers. And she said, this is quite a departure from what you normally do. And that resonated because it meant so much on so many different levels. Because yes, it was, the pieces themselves are quite a departure from what I normally do. But more than that, it's like, wait a minute, Black people leaving Africa, coming here is the departure. And then there is the constant transition and shifting that goes on. And so I wanted to kind of show something that showed how I move and how I adjust and everything. So that's what the whole body of work is, because it is 30 years of work. And so 30 years of work, meaning that I probably addressed 7 or 8 different series, because I've always worked in series. And so I wanted to show people also how I go from painting flags to painting flowers. How did I get from one to the other? And it really is, again, I think something I addressed earlier, it is something that I'm doing where all of a sudden I might introduce a flower to a flag, and because it's telling a different part of this narrative, but that shifts me into getting rid of the flag and focusing on the flower. And like, quite frankly, like right now, like one of the things I talk about when I talk about the departure is the idea of what's next. And I keep asking that question, and I sit down, I meditate, I pray, and I ask the ancestors, like, what's next? And what I try to do is be patient about trying to see what's next as opposed to making a decision, because I don't want to make a commitment to and make an announcement, this is next, only to realize I don't want to go there, but I've made an announcement, this is where I'm going. I have a sense of what is next, but I'm going to sit on it for a little bit. I'm wrapping up a children's book that I'm doing right now. And when I'm done with the children's book, I'll take a couple of days off, and then I'll see if what I thought might be next.
And it's great that you explain that, because everybody's quote creative process is different. And it sounds like you were saying before, you have ideas, but it's almost like you take time to pause, gather, reflect. And it's almost like when you pray or you meditate, you're slowing things down. And it reminds me of a Hendrix quote, what wisdom speaks. And you're letting things speak with you, and now it's like, go forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of what I was hearing there.
What I love, Andrew, is like really like listening to certain people and hearing their language and realizing they got it, they figured it out. And it's like Beyonce has a song called Bigger. And if you listen to it, you realize that we're not here for us. We're here for the next generation. And we have to pave the way and create an easier journey for them. And so it's like, don't get too wrapped up in you. No, it's so much bigger than you. And I hear, like when she said that, but I've heard so many, like I listened to James Baldwin 30 years ago. He understood, and so he was willing to sacrifice success to a larger degree, commercialism and all that, in order to pave the way. Maya Angelou did that. Toni Morrison did that. We were talking about music earlier. It's one of the things that happened with when Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson, people don't know what was like. They had to create a whole new category in the Grammys because there wasn't one for spiritual or religious music. And so she won the first piece like that. But you can imagine all the record companies that came and said, sister, if you were to sing some soul, we can make a killing. And she's like, no, my purpose isn't to do soul. My purpose is to do this gospel music. And she did a fantastic job with it. And so it's that whole idea of what is your role? Why are you here? And the sooner we get it, the more we don't get caught up in all the huge distractions that are going on in this world.
Tell you what, those are some great points. So as we get ready to wind down this talk, you're leaving a footprint. What would you want to say to anybody, whether it's through the lens of the creative arts that you're doing, performing arts, whatever, the important, you kind of touched on it, the importance of leaving a positive footprint wherever you go.
Mhm. And, I think that it's so important that it's nearly impossible to be someone else. Everybody has their own fingerprint, even ear shape. Those are ways in which people can be identified. The order of their teeth and the work or not work. Everybody has something that is simply uniquely themselves, and you have to. And I credit even the pandemic with forcing us to be still, forcing us to be quiet, forcing us to listen for a change. And I think some people found what their whole purpose was. Like surviving and making a living and paying bills is the hustle that we've all, to some degree, not all of us, some of us haven't had to do that, but many of us have had to do. But then, like, when you're forced to just be still and look around, you begin to see things, and you sometimes begin to understand why you're here. And in that, you know that your footprint, your fingerprint, your earprint, your self is somehow different than anyone else. And what does that, like I remember a minister saying many, many years ago, she said that you often hear people say, something told me. And I know that something told me it's my ancestors talking to me now. And when something tells me, my ancestors, listen, it's all there. Anything you want to know, it's there. You just have to be willing to listen to it. And sometimes it's going against everything you believe. It may be something as simple as quitting your job. And we hate the idea of quitting our job because we may have gone to college, and we may have gotten degrees, and we may have gotten our doctorate in this thing, but something is telling you this is not why you were here. And to walk away from that is to find something that may be your sole purpose for being here.
Powerful. I'm so glad that you shared that. And we hear finding your passion, finding your purpose, seeing where these overlap, and go where it takes you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the takeaway that I just got from listening to you breaking that down. So as we wind down, remind people, not only if you're based here in Metro Atlanta, but for those of people out there that are venturing to drive safely, of course, mm-hmm. Walk through with us again the location of the current exhibit, departure, how long it's running, and then the best ways for people to stay connected, engaged, and supportive of the work that you're doing.
Thank you, man. So what I would say, first of all, my name again is Charly Palmer, www.CHARLY Palmer, PALMER. But you can go to Hammonds with an S House Museum to get any updates on the space itself, because we're only officially opening the space next week, which would probably be the third week of May, because it's only been virtual since then because of the conditions and everything. But we're officially having an opening in a week, which I think it's going to be like the 22nd. And then it's going to be up until August 1st. So you have plenty of time to come to Atlanta, Georgia, and check out this exhibit. And there are over 30 pieces of my works that will be in this exhibit.
Well, so Mr. Palmer, thank you so much for taking and making the time. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure, if this is the first time you've connected with the author, don't let it be the last. So thank you, each and every one of you. Take good care, continue blessings, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.